Welcome to the Dark File, Case 06. Some killers use knives. Others wear lab coats. Behind a worn-out building on Lancaster Avenue in Philadelphia stood a place that pretended to offer care, but only delivered nightmares. This is the story of Dr. Kermit Gosnell, a man who twisted medicine into murder, hid evil behind sterile gloves, and ran what prosecutors would later call a house of horrors. Gosnell wasn't a shadowy figure lurking in the dark. He was visible, present, polite. A respected member of his community, he opened the Women's Medical Society in 1972, claiming to serve low-income families and immigrants. His early work included drug rehab programs and teen outreach initiatives. On paper, he looked like a man doing good in a broken system. But in the shadows of his clinic, he built something rotten. A place where laws were ignored, pain was currency, and death became routine. The Pennsylvania law restricted abortions after 24 weeks of pregnancy. Patients under 18 needed consent. Every woman seeking an abortion was to receive counseling and a 24-hour waiting period before the procedure. Gosnell followed none of it. Women were admitted on the same day. Minors arrived alone. Paperwork was minimal. Ultrasound images were manipulated to make fetuses appear younger than they were. And worst of all, he was terminating pregnancies far beyond the legal limit. But these weren't clinical procedures. What happened in that clinic defied the definition of medicine. For late-term abortions, Gosnell's staff would induce labor. The women, many of them sedated by unlicensed assistants, gave birth in recliners, on toilets, or in blood-stained beds. Some babies cried, some moved, some breathed. And when they did, Gosnell would carry out what he called a snip, a single incision at the base of the skull using scissors, severing the spinal cord, quietly, quickly. He performed it so often that it became routine, a mechanical response to something that should have demanded humanity. The public didn't know, authorities didn't check. From 1993 to 2010, not a single health inspection was performed. That all changed when federal agents raided the clinic, not for murder, but for drug violations. Gosnell had also been illegally supplying opioids in exchange for cash. What they found was beyond what any of them expected. The smell hit first, a mix of urine, blood, and decay. Cat feces smeared the stairs. Flea-ridden animals roamed freely. Surgical rooms looked like gas station restrooms. Instruments were rusty. Blankets were reused. Women, barely conscious, moaned in recliners. Then came the refrigerator. Inside, jars of baby feet, orange juice cartons and milk jugs filled with fetal remains. Freezers overflowing with discarded parts. Even investigators with years of experience reported nightmares after what they saw. In the recovery room, pain wasn't a mistake. It was a price tag. Gosnell had a tiered system. The less you could pay, the less sedation you received. Desperate women were left writhing in agony, vomiting, bleeding, gasping, while untrained teens administered drugs without knowing the dosage. Some never woke up. Like Karnamaya Mongar, a refugee who barely spoke English. She died after being given an overdose by someone without medical credentials. Nobody noticed until it was far too late. Sundays were different. The staff weren't allowed in. Only Gosnell and his wife remained. What procedures he performed in those hours remain undocumented, but they involved pregnancies at 8 months or more. One staff member whispered later, if the rest of the week was hell, Sundays were worse. In 2011, Gosnell and several staff were arrested. He was charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder, manslaughter, and over 200 violations of medical regulations. Jurors wept as crime scene photos were shown. One fainted, another asked to be excused. Gosnell never flinched. He smiled. He said he helped women. In 2013, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Even now, the building stands, quiet and decaying. The sign still reads Women's Medical Society, though the doors are locked forever. Behind those doors, death wasn't a mistake. It was the business model. So if you're tempted to look up the photos, the jars, the snipping, ask yourself, do you really want to know what evil looks like when it wears a name tag? Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Case 05 drops next week. You won't want to miss it. Because in the dark files, the truth doesn't just come to light. It stares back.